Square, Lisette says in the book of Exit the House of Mirrors, Freedom from Narcissistic Abuse. Aken Press. Kindle edition. Calling a malignant narcissist on their crap. Malignant narcissism has been described as an extreme form of antisocial personality disorder that is manifest in a person who is pathologically grandiose, lacking in conscience and behavioral regulation, and with characteristic demonstrations of joyful cruelty and sadism. Cruelty can be described as indifference to suffering, and even positive pleasure in inflicting it. If this habit is supported by a legal or social framework, then it receives the name of perversion. Cruel ways of inflicting suffering may involve violence, but affirmative violence is not necessary for an act to be cruel. For example, if a person is drowning and begging for help, and another person is able to help, but merely watches with disinterest or perhaps mischievous amusement, that person is being cruel, rather than violent. Pathologically grandiose demonstrations of joyful cruelty, mischievous amusement, and positive pleasure at another's pain and suffering, callous indifference to another's need for help, care, attention, etc. Malignant narcissist is thy name, and they are all big-time perverts. A person doesn't need to be drowning in water to be at the receiving end of the immense cruelty. I see that example as a kind of a metaphor for basic mental, emotional, psychological and physical cruelty, as well as indication of the malignant narcissist's callous indifference and disrespect of human life. The ME not only refuses to meet your needs, they go out of their way to deprive you of what you need. This game of control, vicious power grabs and sadistic infliction of malice gets them off. And they find additional perverse pleasure in witnessing the devastating effect the deprivation has on you. To put it in really creepy terms, witnessing our suffering is akin to watching a snuff film to them. While you are drowning in the water, the MN will jump in and push your head down. Or, they'll look on with glee while you flay around and exhaust yourself trying to stay above the surface. However, once the malignant narcissist has had their orgasm, they will get bored and resentful of all the attention the fight for your life has sucked out of poor little old them. So by the time you start to sink, they'll yawn and watch with disinterest. Remember, they have already gotten off to your pain. Actually, they probably already abandoned you with smug satisfaction by the time you start to sink. Do you think these freaks make safe parents, siblings, friends, relatives, or neighbors? Hey, it's not enough that these sickos watch with mischievous amusement while you are under severe emotional distress, physical pain, and psychological trauma to the point where you are so disoriented that you can't help yourself. The malignant narcissist also gets frustrated and angry that you had the nerve to inconvenience them with your need for help and attention. So they walk out the door in a huff, leaving you to fend for yourself. Your distress is entertaining for only so long. So you make it to emergency and end up in the hospital for a few days, and when you are out of the hospital, the MN who abandoned you in your time of need, ever so bitter that you saved yourself and survived, leaves you a cruel phone message where he mocks you and calls you a wacko. And the malignant narcissist sister who caused the trauma that landed you in the hospital screams at you, "Have you hit rock bottom?" That one is for you, Clancy, you toxic sack of MN shit. And that one is for you, sis, you malignant narcissist freak. And that one is for you, MN Oldies 69, you sick perverted old janitors. FYI, the only reason I don't use the MN's first and last name is not to protect the guilty, but to protect myself. I don't give a shit about the malignant narcissists. I really don't. I'm here to expose them for the criminals they are. If I didn't hate lawyers so much, I would sue all their asses for mental cruelty and intentional infliction of emotional distress. So you want to call a vile MN pervert on their crap? Well, let me recap things. Again, this came out of the mouth of malignant narcissist sister while she was screaming at me over the phone for having the nerve to succumb to abuse and trauma. In my own way, I begged her for mercy by saying, "Why can't you show me a little compassion?" The malignant narcissist freak reacted with indignation, and her infamous response was, and I quote, "Why do you expect me to act a certain way? Why can't you just be complacent?" Malignant narcissists become even more vicious and cruel when you are vulnerable, so watch out. They are pathologically grandiose, and that means they are perfect in every way. They can do no wrong. They are above reproach, and so superior to us mere mortals. They are high, high above, and we are way down below. As lowly peons, we exist to please the narcissist. We have no rights at all. Never mind the right to need help, attention, vital care, or a drop of compassion. The narcissists see us as dirt beneath their feet, and they expect us to stay in that position and never question their despicable behavior. For the grandiose malignant narcissist sadist, ever so lacking in conscience and behavioral regulations, is entitled to neglect you, deny you, dismiss you, ignore you, blame you, abandon you, humiliate you, slander you, judge you, criticize you, belittle you, denigrate you, control you, manipulate you, mentally bludgeon you, toy with you, harass you, attack you, stalk you, beat you, steal from you, and generally treat you like crap and destroy you. It's their right, you see, because you are nothing but an object to be used for the narcissist's own gratification. And objects don't have the right to think, feel, need, or even be. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, you really should know your place. And please don't complain. You really have no right to do so. Those at the bottom of the family hierarchy have no rights, and are expected to accept this without objection. Malignant narcissists are not normal. They have never been normal, and they will never be normal. They are inhumane, period. So if you want to relate to them as a normal human being, then good luck to you. The only value you have is how you can aggrandize the narcissist, and more often than not that involves hurting you in some way. They crush you to vaunt themselves. So the vile crap machine doesn't want to hear about how they hurt you, because hurting you in their sick minds is not only their right, but their intended goal, and they feel entitled to obtain their goal without receiving any flack. No one questions the behavior of the mighty malignant demigod, no matter how heinous their crimes. For despite hard evidence to the contrary, the narcissist perceives themselves to be perfect and right by virtue of who they think they are. And remember, the narcissist's thinking is all lies. They've been tinkering with reality since inception, so their minds are warped and twisted to the point of delusions. Don't try and reason with the insane. Trying to reason with a narcissist and explain to them how they hurt you is as futile as trying to explain quantum physics to the cast of Jersey Shore. The best you'll get, and this is the best you'll get, is the narcissist trying to fake some semblance of understanding. It might look something like this: the narcissist's eyes will glaze over, they'll look at you with a dead stare, nod their big fat pointy heads, and mutter such things as, duh. Okay. Yeah. I can see how you think that seemed this or that. And, if you listen real close, there will be a but that justifies their crimes and excludes them from responsibility, for the narcissist is never in the wrong. So do they actually get it? No. Not one bit. In fact, when the narcissist fakes understanding and temporarily adjusts their behavior, often by over-the-top and smarmy displays of gratitude or flattery, beware. At this point, they're simply afraid of being abandoned by their host, and all narcissists need hosts to parasitize. The narcissist will do whatever it takes to keep their punching bag around. So you can expect some phony and very brief adjustments, but the narcissist will revert to default position in no time. So please don't be a sucker for the rat game. The narcissist is delivering to you, the rat, a tasty treat. Treats may pop out with the first few pushes of the button, but eventually the treat will be replaced by an electric shock. And that's the narcissist's true nature. So don't bother pushing the button again, and again, and again in anticipation of a treat. Unless, of course, you enjoy pain. The rat game is how the narcissist tries to keep their victims off balance. You say to yourself, but they can be nice sometimes. No, they can't. Narcissists can behave normal sometimes when they're wearing the mask and when it's in their best interest to do so, but they are never genuinely nice, compassionate, caring, or loving, because they are missing the old empathy chip and a fully functioning conscience. Narcissists are not like you and me. They are heartless factory-assembled machines. You've met one narcissist, you've met them all. How many of us seconds desperately clung to those few normal moments with an imperance? Those fleeting normal moments were considered the good times in an family. So like the rats that got the first tasty treat, Children of narcissists hunger for another tasty treat and keep pushing and pushing that button in hope that they will deliver us a crumb like they did last week, or last month, or 5 years ago. That is narcissistic abuse. And that's the best you'll get with a narcissist, the occasional crumb. You deserve better. As an Akin, I was brainwashed and trained into believing, by MN parents and MN sibling, that I had no rights. No rights at all. No right to defend myself. No right to fight back. I wasn't allowed to think or feel. In fact, thinking and feeling and trying to protect myself was extremely dangerous. You put up, and shut up in an in family or suffer the consequences for your normal human behavior. Freedom from narcissistic abuse feelings, emotions and reactions. You are not allowed to be in an in family, let alone protect and defend your being. So you end up getting the shit beaten out of you emotionally, psychologically and physically, and you carry the shame of the abuse throughout your life. But you never had a choice. You were doing what you needed to do to survive, you were taking the abuse. Maybe when you were young you cried and screamed, you had a normal human reaction, when the narc parents belted you. But the in parent raged, you shut up. Or, I'll let you have it again. Maybe you got angry when they humiliated you, or you told them that they hurt your feelings. The malignant narcissist snapped, grow up. You're too sensitive. Or, they got that evil glint in their eyes, and that smirk crossed their face and they mocked you. You knew right there and then they loved your pain. So you learned the safest reaction to the abuse was no reaction. Don't give them the satisfaction. And what if you did react in full force by defending yourself and fighting back against the MN bullies by giving them a taste of their own medicine? What then? Well, rest assured you wouldn't hear the end of it. You see, the narcissist is entitled to behave like a pig and abuse you for a lifetime, but if you dare call them on their crap once in that lifetime they will bitch and moan and complain, and whine and play the hard done by martyr over how mean you were to them that one time when you decided not to play by their sick rules and exercised your right to self-preservation. A relationship with a narc is like this: they get to abuse you, and you get to take it. Whether it's subtle in abuse or flat-out vicious in cruelty, them's the rules. Another thing that happens when the in target, or in family whipping pole, scapegoat rebels is they are labeled the one with all the problems, and the identified patient. The in cult can't tolerate such disobedience, so they regroup, have a conference, and pathologize and slander you to anyone who is stupid enough to listen. They go for the jugular by feigning creepy concern. I say concern is creepy because it's a derogatory term. It's another way of saying, I'm flawless, wonderful and such a compassionate person, but there's something wrong with you. That shit only comes out of the mouths of ins who are knee-deep in it and trying to mess with you or assassinate your character. I really don't know why he or she is angry all the time. He or she has problems. I do my best, but he needs help. Perhaps, he or she is mentally ill? And the narcissist's projection and liar machine rages on. I'm very concerned. Yeah, right, concerned. The only thing the narcissist is concerned about is that you're not buying their bullshit and you're starting to talk. Exposure is a huge concern to the narcissist. We Akins are a smart lot and we could generally predict the devious post-abuse cover-up and defense mechanism of the Nicholas, so we opted to put up and we shut up. That's all we knew. And then we escaped. Yeah. We escaped all right, but we were still held prisoner. Of the ins training and brainwashing. God's concentration camp is how some have described the life of children growing up with narcissists, psychopath parents. So you leave the narcissist concentration camp where you have been bullied, brainwashed and trained to play the rat game and put up with the abuse, and other predators out there in the world lick their chops and see that they have a live one. Why do we Akins attract other ends? We don't. They're attracted to us because we're the only people who will put up with their bullshit.